Hi, everybody. Good Wednesday morning. Meteorologist Dan Bickford here. We are watching a storm system that's heading our way that's going to bring the potential for some flooding rainfall across a good chunk of the area. And we're still watching for the potential for some ice accumulation in some mountain locations as we go through tonight and early tomorrow morning. That's going to be actually elevation dependent. You're more likely to see ice issues the higher up you are in the mountains and less likely in some of the valleys. And for you here in just a moment. Let's take a look first off at what we're looking at as we get to the 11 o'clock hour where we are at right now. Just a little bit of light rain out there, not much more than that at this point. It's all moving off to the north and the east, and we're going to be in and out of this as we go through the course of the afternoon. In terms of heavy rainfall, that's not really going to kick in until we get into really later this afternoon and into tonight. We'll time that out for you here in a little bit. The broader view, still a lot of moisture streaming up across Georgia, headed to the Carolinas. There's a storm system that is right now, you can see the swirl in the atmosphere out across Arkansas. This is where upper level low pressure sits, and there's snow right now in Arkansas. Some of that's stretching into Tennessee. We're going to see that wintry weather potential work into parts of western North Carolina later tonight. We're not talking snow with that, though. We're going to be talking the potential for freezing rain and perhaps some sleet. Let's break this down for you hour by hour. We'll pick this up with the noon hour, and not too dissimilar to where we are right now in terms of rain. Just some spotty areas of light rain, a few bands of it. Temperatures are going to be in the 40s. In fact, our highs are going to stay in the 40s today. It's going to be a rather cool day. As we go through the first part of the afternoon, expect our rain to begin to increase in coverage through the 3 and 4 o'clock hours, although it does look like it'll probably remain for the most part on the light side. And we're probably, as we start to see rain become more widespread, we're going to start to see those temperatures gradually decreasing a little bit. And then as we go through the early evening, we'll see those temperatures come down a little bit more. The rain continues. We start to see more of those yellows, more moderate rain beginning to push in. And then we'll notice up as we get to the northern mountains, some of those mountain peaks are going to start to get to near freezing. And with that moisture moving in, whatever rain is up there will turn to freezing rain and or sleet. As we go deeper into the evening, the rain becomes heavier across the area, and we start to see the pink expand a little bit in western North Carolina to where now a lot of the higher elevations starting to get in that wintry mix. And as you see, the valley is still 37 for a temperature in Asheville and Brevard by the midnight hour, but you won't have to go too far higher up to start to see temperatures a little closer to freezing. And those numbers are going to come down, those temperature numbers will come down a little bit more as we go through the overnight. So by the time we get to about 3 in the morning, we're seeing that pink, the potential for the freezing rain, sleet, and rain mix stretching across the northern mountain counties through all the higher elevations of Buncombe, Henderson County, down into Transylvania County. We may even see some of that get into, because you see that pink stops right at the border. Weather doesn't pay too much attention to geographical borders. Some of that pink is probably going to get into northern Greenville County. We're talking the higher elevations, the mountains could see a little bit of freezing rain mixing in with the rain. Notice the forecast air temperature still a bit above freezing, though, actually in Brevard and Asheville. It's possible the forecast models may be coming in a little too high with some of those numbers. Sometimes when we get these cold situations, the models underdo how strong the cold air is coming in. So it's possible we may have to subtract a couple degrees across the board off some of these numbers. That's going to make it rather chilly. And it's still going to keep a good chunk of the area above freezing, but it's going to put many more mountain locations a little closer to freezing going into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, 6 a.m., still heavy rain out there, still that mix of rain, sleet, freezing rain in some mountain locations. And then as we go deeper into the morning, so as we get past daybreak, we'll see the axis of heavy rain beginning to push to the east. So by the time we get to 9 o'clock in the morning, we're still contending with rainfall across a good chunk of the upstate northeastern Georgia, though the heaviest of it is moving out. But there's still going to be a possibility for some spots in the mountains to see some freezing rain or some sleet. Then as we get towards midday, most of the rain moves out. Temperatures will be above freezing pretty much area-wide. A northwest wind behind this system is going to keep at least some chance of moisture and a few spotty showers going in the mountains. Some of the highest elevations going into the evening hours may still see a wintry mix. There's going to be a little bit of snow out in Tennessee. Some of that is going to get into the mountains near the North Carolina-Tennessee border Thursday night. Not anticipating a whole lot of accumulation, but those higher elevations may see a little cap of snow on all of this before all of it moves out. So two main concerns. For the upstate northeastern Georgia, lower elevations of western North Carolina, big thing is going to be the rain. And a flood watch remains in effect. Actually kicks in at noon today. It's going to run till 7 p.m. on Thursday. Runoff from heavy rain could cause some flooding issues. Now, a couple days ago, we had 2 to 3 plus inches of rain across much of the area. The ground is already saturated, and some of those rivers and streams are still running high. So we don't have as much room for water to go. As a result, we may have some flooding because the possible rain now through Tuesday, good chunk of the area in purple could see over 2 inches of rain. Locally higher amounts certainly possible, closer to 3. Farther north and west, we're talking 1 inch to 1.5 inches, maybe a few spots a little bit more, a few spots a little bit less. Again, with already saturated ground, and with fall debris on the ground, we're talking all those leaves that can move around, clog up storm drains. That's another reason we could see some flooding. If you happen to have a storm drain near your property or something near the curb, make sure it's clear of debris. Otherwise, that could back up and cause some water issues on the roadway, and we certainly don't want that. So most of us are going to be dealing with that heavy rain, and the heaviest rain is going to be tonight through the early hours of tomorrow. Then we're watching for ice. For the areas you see in pink, a winter storm warning is in effect, but for elevations 2,500 feet and up. This includes Transylvania, Henderson, Buncombe, Jackson counties on to the north and east. Kicks in at 7 this evening, runs till 1 tomorrow afternoon. These areas are where we're expecting more ice accumulation than others, certainly enough to cause travel issues, especially on bridges and overpasses. Heavily traveled roads may not be so bad simply because ground temperatures are still relatively warm, but bridges and overpasses, anything cold air can get underneath. That may cause things to freeze up. We may have enough ice, at least on a spotty basis in these areas, to cause maybe some tree or power line damage, and that could, of course, lead to some power outages. There's a winter weather advisory in effect for elevations below 2,500 feet for some of those same areas, and that extends into the mountains of Rutherford, Polk, and into Greenville counties. This runs until from 7 p.m. this evening until 1 Thursday. This also includes some of the foothill areas, McDowell out into Burke counties. Not expecting as much ice in these areas. In fact, it could be really spotty in those lower elevations, so some folks are going to be okay. Others are going to see the potential, at least for a brief period of time, for some freezing rain, and that may cause some slick spots, especially on bridges and overpasses. So overnight tonight through tomorrow morning, you can work, live, or travel through these areas. You're going to want to be really careful. Now, most of the major roadways run through the lower elevations, and a lot of those may be fine. However, it's going to be very dependent on where those spots of ice set up. Our latest forecast model shows the potential icing areas in purple, and those set up from near Cataloochee down through Brevard towards not too far from Cullowhee, towards Hendersonville, on up through the Lake Lure area and north. These are the areas most likely to see at least a little bit of ice accumulation. Notice not a whole lot in the French Broad River Valley. Some of those areas may be low enough in elevation to stay mostly rain through the better part of this event. But anyway, these areas are the most likely to see some accumulation of ice at low end, the valleys, maybe about 1/100 of an inch or so. That doesn't sound like much, but it's enough to cause slick spots, certainly. Higher end amounts, and we're talking some of the peaks here and on some of the southeastern facing slopes, could see maybe 1/4 of an inch of ice accumulation, and that would be enough to certainly cause some damage to some trees or some power lines. Of the entire thing, of this entire forecast, these accumulation amounts are probably the thing we have the least amount of confidence in right now, because this is going to be highly geographically dependent. Higher elevations are going to see the higher ice accumulations, lower elevations, the lower accumulations, and it may be relatively spotty to where you're going to have a peak that gets a bunch, and then a few miles to the southwest, not as much. And you're going to have some valley areas that may miss out on ice entirely. So this is just a be very cautious sort of thing, where you're under the winter weather advisory. That's it. Be advised. The potential is going to be there. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. It just means there's going to be some nearby. Where we have the winter storm warnings, that's more likely the area where we're going to see at least enough ice accumulation to cause some difficulties. Again, the broader view, showers around through the rest of the afternoon. That will start to build again. We are going to be chilly going into the overnight. All that rain moves through. It is going to be heavy. We see the spots of freezing rain and sleet developing in the mountains. And then as we go past Thursday morning, that area of low pressure lifts off to the northeast. So Thursday afternoon, there's still the potential for a few spotty mountain showers, leftover clouds across the upstate. and a very cool, raw day, even as we get the rain out of here. Then as we go into Friday, well, first Thursday night, we get that one quick shot of snow on the North Carolina-Tennessee border, and then the clouds begin to dissipate. We're clearing out Friday. Friday promises to be a much nicer day. We can see it here in the numbers. We're going to be only looking at 40s for highs in the upstate, mid-30s tonight. 50s with the sunshine on Friday. Right now, the weekend looks great. We're back to the lower 60s. Got another front early next week. Looks like it's coming through dry. And again, it's the mountains and some of those foothills, the northern foothills we're most concerned about. 40s the next couple days for highs. 33 for a low at the Asheville Regional Airport is what we're going for right now. Obviously, some higher elevations are going to be at 32. That's that freezing rain threshold. So freezing rain and sleet, again, possible in some mountain areas. And again, some of that light icing could reach into the higher elevations of Greenville County. So a winter weather advisory is in effect for northern Greenville County for that. We'll keep a close eye on the mountains of Pickens and Oconee counties as well, not currently under any advisories, but in case that cold air comes a little stronger, we might see a patch or two get a brief bout of freezing rain in those areas. We'll have another update on air, obviously, at noon today, and you'll probably see very similar things to what I've just put up right here. We'll get some new data in this afternoon, and we'll have an update with Malachi Rogers tonight starting on 7 News at 5, and probably have another update online at about that time as well. So have the umbrellas ready outside of the mountains, everybody. Going to be another soaker, and in the mountains, just be careful, stay safe here over the next 24 hours or so. Again, later tonight into early tomorrow morning, we could be a little slick in spots. Have a good one, everybody.